Hi team. Is Russia a European country? If you've been using our AnchorVet series on Knowable World, you might be getting used to this kind of answer. Yes and no. That may be one of the most important things you can learn from history. I call it the art of yes and no. It feels strange because we are most comfortable with questions that have a yes or no answer. Do you like pineapple on a pizza? That seems like a yes or no question. Can you run a marathon? That's a yes or no question, isn't it? But wait a minute. If you asked me about pineapple on pizza, I would say, maybe. On Hawaiian pizza, sure. But on any pizza? No, not with every single combination of toppings. Sometimes I just want something savory and not sweet. Can I run a marathon? No. But if my life depended on it, could I walk and run 26 miles to save the life of my son? Nothing could stop me. Life is like that. The answer to many questions is not yes or no, but yes and no, or it depends how you look at it. So is Russia a European country? Until the year 1700, the answer is pretty clearly no. As we'll learn in detail in our AnchorVet series on Russia, or as you can learn in the Knowable World live and recorded classes, Russia was isolated to the east of Europe. For over 200 years, for instance, much of Russia was inside the Mongol Empire, which was an Asian empire. But in 1700, Russia started to become a European country because of a Tsar named Peter the Great. Here comes another one of those interesting history questions. Was Peter really the Great? And what does it mean to say that somebody was the Great? Peter the Great was the leader of Russia during the Great Northern War of 1700 to 21. In this war, Russia defeated Sweden, a European country, and took over a small piece of land on the Baltic Sea in Northern Europe. On that land was then built the most European of Russian cities, St. Petersburg. From that point on, Russia traded more and more with Europe, and was involved in almost all the important European wars. That sounds like a European country to me. So far, we've seen the wars of the Franks. Russia was not involved. We've seen the 100 Years' War. Russia was not involved. We've seen the Reformation and religious wars. Russia was not involved. But what's coming up is the French Revolution and the wars of Napoleon. Yes, Russia was involved. And after that, we'll see World War I and World War II. Yes, again, and in a very big way, Russia was involved. In fact, Russia ruled much of Europe after that, and forced many of its people to live under communism. Being a part of Europe was the goal of Peter the Great. He wanted Russia to be a great country, and he knew that Europe was more advanced than Russia. When Peter was young, there was only a small connection between Russia and Europe. Two English explorers, Willoughby and Chancellor, had been trying to find a route to Asia by going over top of Russia. This was part of the search for northern passages. They were unsuccessful because there was simply too much ice. But they did reach the Russian port of Archangel, and thus began a modest trade between Europe and Russia for Asian goods. There was a neighborhood in Moscow named the German Quarter, where European merchants lived, and Peter liked to tour it as a child, seeing how different the people of Europe were. So he personally toured Europe to learn European ways. There are statues to Peter the Great in Amsterdam and London. He was 6 foot 8 inches tall, so everywhere he went, he was noticed. And history sure notices him too. Because of the Great Northern War, Russia became one of Europe's most important countries. Even today, there is a war in Ukraine involving Russia and Europe. And Europeans are worried that Russia will attack Europe if they don't stand up to Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin. We've learned about events that involve mainly France, Germany, and England. Those are by far the three most important European countries. But now we've added the fourth, Russia. As we'll see in the next lesson, the fact that Russia was part of Europe ever since Peter the Great and the Great Northern War became very important to European history. See you again soon.